Nearly a third of American adults are pre-gaming before going out because bar drinks have gotten too expensive. The liquor brands are actually packaging products to help them do it. A group of young professionals in Washington spent a full month with only a flip phone, and what they found when they put the smartphone down is more interesting than you'd expect. And MIT just published the first direct evidence that seeds can hear. This is News Side Quest. Politics is loud. It takes up all the air in the room. While everyone else was staring at that particular situation, a bunch of other things happened. I'm Keith Conrad, and I went searching for them. The Wall Street Journal ran a piece this week that's funny on the surface and less funny the more you think about it. Nearly a third of Americans surveyed by consumer insights platform Zappy say they pregame before going out, drinking at home first to avoid buying expensive drinks at bars and venues. One 31-year-old woman told the Journal she recently saw a tall can of Black Cherry White Claw being sold for $20 at a Massachusetts concert venue. I saw that and thought, wow, I'm really glad I pregamed, she said. She recalled doing the same thing with vodka in her dorm room in college. In my 20s, affordability was really the name of the game, she told the Journal. But that's still the case now in my 40s. Here's to not growing up. The price data behind the trend is actually real. Beer at Nationals Park in Washington runs $15.40. A beer at Fenway costs $10.79. The cheapest beer in a Major League Baseball stadium this year is at Coors Field, ironically. Cocktails at a major concert venue start at $25. Liquor brands have noticed and are responding accordingly. Some have begun packaging their products in airplane-sized miniature bottles, specifically marketed for on-the-go consumption before entering a venue. Suntory Global Spirits, which makes Jim Beam and Maker's Mark, says it has seen rising demand for its miniature bottles as a direct result of this trend. Just what the world needs right now is people getting absolutely sloshed before they go out in public. There are two things happening at once here, though. The first is a genuine economic story. The cost of social life has increased to the point where people are doing financial planning around a night out. Among Americans who say the high cost of drinks keeps them from going to a bar or concert, about 41% say they just drink water or non-alcoholic beverages instead. About 37% pregame. It's not college kids being reckless, that's adults doing math. The second thing is the obvious public safety dimension, which I'm not going to pretend doesn't exist. Showing up to a crowded venue already 3 drinks in is a different experience for anyone in the vicinity. The venues aren't going to lower their prices. The pre-gaming isn't going to stop. This is just where we are now. So what's the thing you used to do without thinking that now requires an actual financial strategy? It's not a complaint, just the specific thing where you remember when it was just a thing you did and now it's actually something you have to do the math on.
To alcohol! The cause of and solution to all of life's problems.
A reporter covered a group of 20 and 30-somethings in Washington who spent March without a smartphone, swapping them for basic flip phones as part of something called the Month Offline Challenge, organized by a small startup with support from a local community group. Jay West, who's 29 years old, recalled waiting for a bus and not knowing when it would come. He found himself reaching into his pocket for his phone repeatedly, only to remember there was nothing useful on it. But in the end, he said it was liberating. He said he was bored sometimes, and that's okay. Bobby Loomis, who's 25 years old, says before the detox, he couldn't get through a single episode of a television show without checking his phone. By the end of the month, he was walking around Washington without his headphones, listening to the birds. His daily screen time dropped from 6 hours to 4, roughly the American adult average. Lizzie Benjamin, 25 years old, dug out old CDs her father had burned so she could listen to music without Spotify. Yes, we're in an age where 20-somethings are grabbing CDs from their fathers. Rachel Schultz, 35, had asked strangers on bicycles for directions. One other 20-something completed the detox in January. She can now navigate her neighborhood without Google Maps, deleted Instagram, and launched her own digital sobriety group. The research backing this up is consistent. A Georgetown University psychology researcher noted that going smartphone-free for even a couple of weeks leads to better well-being and improved ability to sustain attention, and preliminary studies suggest these effects persist over time. One organizer of the Washington program emphasized that simply ditching the phone isn't enough. An appealing alternative is vital. His program includes weekly discussion sessions at a karaoke bar. If you need an entire month to recalibrate your relationship with social media, that's diagnostic information, but I want to be fair to what these people actually found. The most interesting part of this story isn't the detox itself, it's what filled the space: old CDs, bird sounds, asking strangers for directions, being bored and decided that was actually okay. That's not nothing, that's actually a lot of what a life outside a screen looks like. And apparently it took a month of forced withdrawal to remember it existed. If you had to put the smartphone down for a month, what do you think you would actually miss? And what do you think you would not miss at all, if you're being honest?
Okay, it's $500, you have no choice of carrier, the battery can't hold a charge, and the reception isn't very— Shut up and take my money!
MIT engineers published a study this week in the journal Scientific Reports that represents, in their words, the first direct evidence that plant seeds and seedlings can sense sounds in nature. Specifically, rice seeds can hear rain coming and it makes them grow faster. When a raindrop hits the surface of a puddle or the ground, it generates a sound wave that travels through the water and soil and makes the surroundings vibrate, including any shallowy submerged seeds. Those vibrations can be strong enough to dislodge tiny structures inside the seed called statoliths, gravity-sensing organelles. You remember that from middle school? That, when jostled, send a biological signal for the seed to begin growing. To test this, the MIT team submerged roughly 8,000 rice seeds in shallow tubs of water and exposed portions of them to dripping water that mimicked light, moderate, and heavy rain, placed far enough away that only the sound waves would reach the seeds, not the water itself. Seeds exposed to the rain sounds germinated 30 to 40% faster than seeds in identical conditions without the sound. Here's the detail that caught my eye. The lead researcher explained why the sound of rain is so powerful underground. Water is denser than air, so the same drop makes larger pressure waves underwater. So if you're a seed within a few centimeters of a raindrop's impact, the sound pressures you'd experience are equivalent to what you'd be subject to within a few meters of a jet engine in the air. A puddle, from a seed's perspective, sounds like standing next to a jet engine. Just let that sink in for a second. The researchers think there's a specific biological advantage here. If a seed is close enough to the surface to detect the sound of rain, it's probably at an optimal depth to absorb moisture and grow safely to the surface. The sound isn't just triggering growth, it's essentially confirming that the conditions are right. A few weeks ago, we learned plants can feel pain. Now we learned that they actually hear things, so I'd say we're a couple headlines away from a plant getting a seat on the UN Security Council. But here's the thing we're thinking about. Plants have been doing sophisticated environmental sensing for hundreds of millions of years, and we're still discovering the mechanisms. We assume they were passive. They're actually responding to the world in ways we didn't have instruments sensitive enough to detect until now. What's the most surprising thing you've learned recently about something you thought you completely understood? The thing that made you reconsider something you've taken for granted all your life.
Bravo! That'll be hard to top. I pity the next tale of interest.
A sailor en route to the Strait of Hormuz was sidelined after being attacked by a monkey. The sailor required medical attention and was unable to continue with the deployment. Someone had Monkey Uprising on their April bingo card, and I want to know who that person is. The monkey's motivation has not yet been reported.
Take your stinking paws off me, you damn dirty ape!
The United States Senate is currently considering the Hot Rotisserie Chicken Act. It would require grocery stores to sell rotisserie chicken at the temperature at which it was cooked, rather than letting it cool down on the shelf. In an astonishing coincidence, I too am considering hot rotisserie chicken. I want to be clear that I support this legislation fully and without reservation.
What's the matter, Colonel Sanders? Chicken?
A man in Australia confessed to starting a forest fire because he was bored. He told authorities he did it just for his own amusement. He's now going to achieve entirely new levels of boredom once he's incarcerated, which seems like the universe providing an appropriate educational experience for him.
Right.
A man who was stopped by police gave his name as Donald Duck. This did not resolve the situation in the direction they were hoping. Is it just me, or are criminals getting dumber? I want to add just for the record that Donald Duck is also not a particularly believable alias for a human adult. Daffy Duck at least has some plausibility.
You're despicable.
That's it for today's news side quest. 3 questions out there for your consideration. The thing you used to do without thinking that now requires a financial strategy. What you'd actually miss and not miss if you put down the smartphone for a month. And the most surprising thing you've learned recently about something you thought you totally understood. Email me at newssidequest@gmail.com or hit me up in the Substack comments. Have a great weekend. See you on Monday.